Welcome to Comic Books Transformed, where we take your comic book knowledge and transform it into digital currency. I am Anchor Pete, and my co-host over there, Bitcoin Brian. He's going to take your points, and he's going to turn it into Bitcoin. Brian, are you ready to start trading people's currency into Bitcoin?
Sure, yeah. Maybe someone should just give me some first to start us off.
Okay, there you go. It's going to come directly out of your bank account. Is that okay?
Yeah. There's definitely something in there to take. Yeah.
Cool. And now my daughter's going to awkwardly walk behind us. Oh, okay, never mind. She's not. Sometimes when we do these live recordings, she goes and gets a snack right behind me. But
actually, I take my vitamins.
Oh, she takes her vitamins. Okay, there you go. Middle school's awesome. Okay, guys, if you've actually stuck around for the first 50 seconds of this video, I'm Anchor Pete. That is my good friend Brian over there. And we are here to talk about Hawkeye episode number 5. But that's after we talk about Young Justice episode 10. We're big fans of Young Justice, and so we want to give it the attention it deserves. And so we're going to review the newest episode. And Brian, right off the back, did you know the title of the episode before you watched it?
Yeah, I looked them all up, but it's hard to remember them because they're backwards.
Right. So this one was Nomed, Esir. So were you able to kind of guess what it was?
The Demon Rise?
Yes. So you knew we were on board for Etrigan this time around?
Yes.
Yeah. Are you a fan of the Demon from DC Comics or no?
Yeah, no, I like Etrigan before. I've seen him in a few comics here and there. I don't remember him being in all that many animated adaptations before. So this, no, I've seen him in something before. He had to have been in Justice League or Unlimited, yeah, he definitely was.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's in Justice League Unlimited. And then there was a cartoon called I think it was called Justice League Action, where they had these little shorts. Do you remember what I'm talking about?
Yeah, yes.
And there was this really, really great. Oh, no, I'm totally thinking of Justice League Unlimited, though. That's the wrong thing. Justice League Action had this little short story with John Constantine, and it was really good. But with Justice League Unlimited, they had this one episode where all the heroes were turned into kids. Do you remember that one?
Yes.
And he's in that, but he's as a little baby demon. Yeah. My kids love that because I think at one point they have to change his diaper and stuff.
I don't remember that part, but maybe I'll go rewatch that after this.
Yeah. There was a little kid, John Stewart, and they were taking care of the demon baby, and then the demon made kind of like a fart noise and oh, we got to change his diaper, Anyway, I thought he was pretty great in this episode. And once again, we get, Zatanna and her acolytes. And we also get Clarion fighting against the child and Flaw. But I got to say that for me, what I loved about this episode the most was the Vandal Savage backstory. Because
yes, they're really tying Vandal Savage into the human history, really, of the DC universe anyway.
Yeah, I'm a lunatic, and I love tying everything together. And holy Jesus, do they tie everything to Vandal Savage? He's the father of the king of Atlantis, and he's Naboo's father too. Right?
Yeah, so that sent me down a rabbit hole. That they established that last season about Naboo, which is not something that they've done before. That's just for this show. Same thing with Arion too. He was never been related to Vandal Savage before, so it's an interesting way to increase the importance of Vandal Savage, who has been probably the most prominent villain overall in this entire cartoon series.
Yeah, and he's essentially fathered every historical figure in the DC universe in this show. It's good that he is this main villain because they're able to tie everything together, and it makes him just that much more noteworthy and powerful, right?
Yeah.
If they ever eventually take him out, that'll be a big deal for this show.
Yeah, and just I have to throw in a little anecdote that I didn't know much about this character until there was a Justice League episode about him. It was about Superman and Vandal Savage, and I thought it was one of my favorite episodes of that series. And I did not know anything about the character before, and it was a great introduction to it.
Yeah, That's the beauty of a show like Justice League Unlimited, Batman the Animated Series. They're able to, in a span of like 22 minutes or so, introduce kids, when we were kids, to these characters that you would have a hard time comprehending or getting all the information you needed on them. They could put them in these nice little nuggets for us to ingest, and that's where our fandom comes from, And what I liked about this too is that they really develop the different like races that are in the DC universe. Like in the comics, they've always referenced Homo Magi, which is essentially like people that are just magic users by birth, right? They're like mutants, but they can use magic. And they established that Vandal Savage, he didn't father them, right? But he knew where to find them, I think.
No, that was what the Atlanteans were before they were submerged and had their latent powers activated. And then they became, what was it, Mermanis or something?
Yeah. So many different terms. Yeah, it was like Mamantis. Yeah, Homo Mamantis.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. And so then besides that, you also have it's going to get me in trouble this episode. Homo Meta, which that is like the DC version of mutant.
Yeah, that's like a meta-human, yeah.
Yeah. So you have all these different races, and it's so cool because there's all these different characters that have these histories. Like Zatanna is a Homo Magi, and her father. And so they just naturally have magic. What's her face? 13, right? What's her first name? Tracy 13?
Tracy 13.
She's another Homo Magi, right? And so, that explains where they come from. But then it also explains why Atlantean people are so powerful with magic, because that's what they're all descended from. I just love how it all gets tied up in a nice bow,
Yeah, absolutely.
I tweeted this. I don't know if you saw this tweet, but I basically said that if you took the showrunners for this show and you had them essentially run the DC cinematic universe, I feel like they could make something that would rival the MCU.
It's certainly possible. They're doing a fantastic job with this, but the mediums are very different. And a show is very different than a movie as well. So some things, the amount of world building that's done here, I'm not sure could be done as well in a movie scenario. But yeah, I would absolutely, be willing to watch them take a crack at it.
Yeah. Because in the movies, we're going to start to get, we're going to get Dr. Fate, we're going to get the Justice League, we're getting Black Adam. And I feel like if you had a backstory already kind of established or a blueprint, you could make it all fit together really well and make it work. But I fear that it's going to just be disjointed stuff and not really blend together like the way that the show does.
Yeah, because this show was made with a level of care, and for the most part, everything fits in very well. But the movies are the DCEU is already off to a fairly rocky start in terms of continuity. So, trying to tie, it may be better to start from scratch, honestly.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think that this show is a good example of how you can make it all work, and you can also make it seem like kind of realistic, even though it's very far-fetched. And you can just tie in all these various different characters into one mythology. I think they do an excellent job with that with this show.
Yeah, and another benefit of the medium for animation too is that you can have a background character there for 5 seconds, and and sometimes they can even be a non-speaking role, and that adds so much. But where in a live-action movie, you have to cast somebody and you have to pay them a lot, and it's different. It's harder to have a large cast like that in a movie, compared to a show like this, where there are literally hundreds of characters.
Yes, that's very, very well put. Yeah, you're right. And not only that, but then the actors, they can use certain characters and they don't age at all, right? And so it's just the same voices. Their voices might be a little different, but it's not a matter of cosmetically do they look the same. Some of these characters Immortal, like Vandal Savage, so the actor can't age. I know with technology it doesn't matter; they can make anybody look young now. But
yeah, and also too, and something this show does employs very well is that they they have some actors and actresses portray multiple characters, which you really can't do in live action for the most part.
Oh yeah. So let's see. I had so much to say. What the fuck is up with the school bus?
Yes. Okay. So the school bus has made a lot of appearances apparently, and I've just never really, really like noted. I have noticed it, but never really put it all together. It's just something that's there that they've been doing it since the first season.
Really?
I looked this up on the last week's episode because they when they're catching those little trolls, that bus appears again, and it's always the same driver and the same kids, and looking all panicked the whole time. But now it's in space. Which...
Right.
I laughed at it. I honestly laughed at it, but it made me go look up how they've been doing this as a running gag, throughout the entire series.
Yeah. It's so funny. I was like, what? I didn't like. Does this mean anything? But I get that it's just like an inside joke or whatever. It's funny because like they have school bus scenes like that in many movies. It's in like Man of Steel. I think it's in one of the Spider-Man movies at least. There's a lot of movies like that, and it's just real funny. Did you get the Earth 17 reference that Clarion made?
No, I didn't.
Yeah. So essentially there's that sequence where the girl is telling Clarion he did a poor job and, she's going to take over. They're going to get rid of him. And he's trying to talk about what he's done, like his accomplishments. And he's like, oh, there's my accomplishment on Earth 17. And then Tico kind of goes, meow. And he's like, it's not a fiasco. And so I had to look up Earth 17. And, I know that the Young Justice world is Earth 16. So I figured it has to be something close. But it's a really weird-ass world. It's a world where like it's almost like Fallout, where there was like an atomic war in the 60s, and so all the heroes are in this like world that's like has nuclear fallout, and the Atomic Knights are the heroes there, and they're led by Adam Strange. So I was like, that's a weird reference.
What medium was this presented in? Was it a comic or
comic? Yeah.
What era?
It's from Morrison's Multiversity series.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
They go to so many different universes, and that's hard to remember them all.
Oh yeah, I know. It's wacky, but I'm assuming that's what they're mentioning, or it just could be some random thing they're saying. But it made sense because that world was like completely devastated, and Clarion, as we can see from this, he's pretty freaking powerful.
Yeah, absolutely, and he's a little crazy too. I mean, he seems much more toned down than he was in his past self, which I guess is basically what the child is saying.
Yeah. Were you a fan of like the way they were kind of trying to justify like how order and chaos work? Like they're basically saying that like he's serving Vandal Savage, and it seems like Vandal Savage is evil and Vandal Savage is creating chaos, but Vandal Savage is almost like a lord of order. Do you remember that part?
Yeah, so they're basically saying that as long as the balance is maintained, it doesn't matter what you're doing is ultimately. But there is a certain amount of control that Vandal Savage is trying to present here, and you can definitely look at it as a matter of order. I mean, it's order and chaos is not good and evil necessarily.
Right. Yeah, and he wants so much control that essentially like he could like bring order to the whole world, which I think that's kind of what he's trying to do, is like conquer the world. Yeah. And I also liked, I mean, first of all, there were a lot of sequences in this episode that were like feature length, or not feature length, but like could be on the big screen, like amazing action sequences, right?
Yeah.
Like when they're fighting the demon. This one part I love so much is when the demon jumps up at the girl, just blasts her with fire, and then she's a skeleton, but then she comes out of the skeleton's eye. Oh, I love that so much.
And this was also after Clarion, bisects right down the middle, the shot right down the middle, and she just comes back. Oh yeah, I'm some black goo now. I'm back.
Yeah. I mean, just every single episode, there's some kind of horrific thing that's happening, right?
And actually, this is something I didn't notice too. Is I mean, when the child is raising that big land mass there, I thought they were just like in the middle of the woods somewhere or something like that. But no, there's like a town that got half raised in that too, and it was destroyed because of this.
What assholes! Yeah, and I love that like Clarion, he like always says like he messes up his phrases, like he says carp all the time instead of crap, and
yeah.
So, what else did you like from that episode?
I did not notice this myself, but I was very curious as to in Jason Blood's house or wherever that was, that chamber. They kept cutting away from him saying, "Don't touch that! Don't touch that! Don't touch that!" And those were apparently all artifacts from the Gargoyles show, which Greg Weisman had a hand in creating, which I thought was really cool. But I had to look that up and see what they were because I didn't recognize anything off the top of my head. But that was a nice little like kind of meta callback, I suppose.
That is awesome. Okay, I would never have known that if you had brought that up. I appreciate that. Oh man, that's so cool. Yeah, that was a great sequence where he's gonna touch everything. Mary Marvel's gonna touch stuff in there. And then when the demon comes out, he looks at Mary Marvel and he says something like, "Oh, you have someone inside of you too, just like Jason Blood." I like that little touch. I like the idea of like the Marvel. Well, they're not the Shazam people now. Like they have like a person inside of them that's being like unleashed. I like that a lot.
Absolutely. I was gonna say something and I lost it. Damn it.
That happens. I've been yakking a lot. I like that. So they cut to McGann at one point. McGann and Martian Manhunter and McGann's sister. And McGann's sister's able to sort of make her have this catharsis. She even kind of calls it out when she's about to break down. But McGann mentions that she's a professional guidance counselor. And I found it kind of interesting that like Tigress is a professor and then McGann is a guidance counselor. You have all these sort of young heroes working in education. And like as someone that works in education, I really appreciate that,
Nice. I guess they're the only two that do that. I don't think they ever mention what anybody else does outside of that.
I think that like Aquaman, right? Kaldor, he just is like Arthur, right? Where he like runs Atlantis, right?
Yeah, I think he's technically the king of Atlantis. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, he's not the king. No, he's just Aquaman. He's not the king.
Okay. So then is Arthur just the king then?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, he doesn't really need a secret identity, I guess. And then Dick, is just, whatever he is, I guess. Like when they have Nightwing in the comic, what's that?
He's just not in this season.
Yeah, well, we'll see him soon, I bet.
Yeah.
But like, and his beautiful butt cheeks. But they don't really show it off in the cartoon. But I was gonna say that in the comics, a lot of times he can be a cop too, and he works in like Bloodhaven. Yeah. So unless you got anything else you wanted to talk about with this episode, we can move on to
the one thing I want to mention is that so far the first two arcs of the show were 4 episodes each, and we have 13 episodes in this first half of the season. So this arc is actually getting a bit higher episode count.
Okay.
So I thought that was interesting. So I imagine that, it already seems like this is going to start to tie in the kind of larger arc for the show.
Okay.
For the season. So.
Yeah. And so maybe they will bring in, because all this Atlantis stuff, you'd think they will bring Kaldor in, right?
I figure at some point he might even show up in this arc, hopefully. We have to wait and see. All of the titles are available, and you can see like a 1-sentence description of all of them. And they really just say like Zatanna and her allies the whole time.
Oh.
So they're not really giving it away, but they mention like, they make some new friends or they make a new enemy or something like that. So I wouldn't be surprised if we saw him at some point during these next 4 episodes or whatever.
Oh wow, there's 4 more in this arc.
I can't do math right now.
It's okay. We're just recording live. We do this.
Yeah.
Well, while you're saying that, I can just kind of piggyback on that because there is that line that Zatanna says at the very end where she's like, "We need allies or we need more people." So yes. I was assuming she was going to get more people from the team.
Yes, and there are 3 more. I'm a moron. I'm just not doing math on the fly right now. I don't know why. It's too late.
Dude, you're not a moron. You're a dad just like me, and you work full time, and we're recording. This is like 10:30 your time, right?
Very true. Yes. I am normally in bed by now.
Yeah. And I don't know if you're like me, but like when I first watched the episode, I'm like, I'm going to talk about this. I'm going to talk about that. This is going to be this brilliant point. And then it's like, then we don't record for like 18 hours later. I'm like, shit. What am I supposed to talk about? You know,
Pretty much every time I watch it, for the most part, I watch it. I'll watch the episode when it airs. So tomorrow I'll watch the new one, and then I'll forget everything. But I'll rewatch it again, like an hour or two before we record, just so I have some kind of refresher on it.
No, but that's wise. I mean, I make my notes, right? And here's some of my notes. I have lifting ground, metagenes, flies out of skull eye, carp. That's like, you know, it's like,
yeah, like someone just read that randomly, like, what the fuck is this guy talking about?
Like, is he having a nervous breakdown? You know,
this is the beginning of his manifesto.
Yeah, right. All right, man. Well, so then we can move on to what all the nerds are having orgasms about today. By the way, you know, we just spoiled the shit out of Young Justice. We might as well spoil the shit out of Hawkeye episode 5.
Hell yeah.
Yes. Brian, it happened. It happened. I
can't believe it. And I can't believe, I don't know if this was, I can't tell if this is a byproduct of people respecting not spoiling things, or it just wasn't as big of a deal to people.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I saw more news about Yelena showing up last week than I did about the image shown as the last frame in this episode.
Yeah,
Isn't that weird?
I know that. I mean, it's weird.
Like we basically called this from the beginning, like that he was going to show up. Like, yes. and I'm like, we knew it was going to happen, and I was still like, yes.
Yeah.
But the general reaction, I feel like there isn't a reaction at all to it. Was it that obvious, and it's not a surprise, so no one cares, or people not watching it, or I don't know.
What I was wondering too. Like, you kind of are a little bit more knowledgeable than me about like how successful these things are. Like, do you know if the show's doing poorly or if it's doing well?
I have no idea.
I remember Mr. Sunday. So for this Hawkeye show, I get a lot of different sources, like Mr. Sunday, Movie Bob, Comic Drake had a bunch of great stuff about Echo that I wanted to talk about. But Mr. Sunday was saying that this show is like the least watched out of all the Disney Plus MCU shows.
You know, I can believe that. I mean, I think that, and the reason we are fans of these characters are because of that Matt Fraction, David Aja comic book. And I guarantee that most of the people watching that are fans of the MCU have not read that. So they kind of do see Hawkeye as more of a joke or not as an important character. And you can also make the argument, too, that the other characters that these shows have been based on are not as important as the ones that the movies have been based on. But I think, you know, WandaVision had the benefit of being the first one out the gate and a very unique premise. And more people probably gave that a shot than other shows. So then I absolutely know that Falcon Winter Soldier wasn't as watched as that. And you know what? I actually don't know that many people that have watched all 4 of the shows. I know some people that have just watched that skipped over WandaVision, or they just watched Falcon and Winter Soldier. Some just watched Loki. Some have watched 2. But I don't know that many people that have actively watched all 4 of these.
Oh. You mean you don't know any other people that like meet up every week and discuss the details of them and like speculate for like 40 minutes on a 30-minute show?
At 10:30 at night? No.
We're just the coolest ones, but
absolutely.
I don't know. I mean, I was gonna say this, right? Do you think that if we weren't so invested in this, would we care about the stuff with Clint?
It's a great question. I mean, I can honestly say I never cared for the character of Hawkeye or even Green Arrow prior to. Actually, I didn't care about Green Arrow until probably Arrow, like the show Arrow.
Sure.
But with Hawkeye, I didn't care about Hawkeye until this comic run there that we mentioned prior. I mean, I remember reading Avengers Disassembled. I'm like, oh, Hawkeye died, whatever. You know, completely unfazed by it, you know?
Right.
And whatever, I just heard a buzz about that series, and I read it, and I loved it, and I've been a fan ever since.
Yes. Yeah, I feel very similarly. With Hawkeye, like especially with Avengers Disassembled, I felt the exact same way. It's like, oh, okay, well, he's on the team. Okay, that's supposed to be sensational. But then Bendis did try to make him more interesting, and he really intertwined it with the whole Echo and also Ronin, just kind of weaving them all together. When the Avengers kind of fell from grace in the comics after Civil War and Secret Invasion, Hawkeye kind of rose to the challenge in the comics, and he was like a leader of like the secret group of Avengers, and that made him appealing to me. And of course, the comic that we just keep referencing over and over again.
Yeah, and especially too because a big portion of that comic was him stepping into like Cap's shoes, because Cap led that team beforehand, and he felt it was a little overwhelmed at first.
Yeah, and in the comics at one point, Cap died, and so he was going to like take over. He even considered becoming Captain America at one point. But with Hawkeye, there was almost like this perfect storm where they introduced Kate Bishop in a separate thing with Young Justice, and so it's just all these things kind of making Hawkeye more interesting. And
Young Avengers.
Right, Young Avengers. What did I say? Something else? What did I say? Young Justice.
Oh
God, it's late, right? So, what I'm going to say, and it's going to just come off as controversial, is that I kind of feel like this show has all these different things that they're trying to set up, but that it doesn't necessarily feel like there's this like satisfying story going straight throughout that you can put it all on top of. And, go ahead.
No, go finish first.
I was gonna say I love Kate Bishop. I love Haley Steinfeld's version of her, and I think that there's some chemistry between her and Jeremy Renner. However, I don't think it's working with Swordsman. I don't think it's working with her mom. Her and Jeremy Renner are great, but it's not getting me. It's not like Falcon and the Winter Soldier for me. I didn't really like Loki as much as some of these two, but it's not like WandaVision or Falcon and the Winter Soldier for me.
Well, with Eleanor and Jack, I think we don't have the full story here yet. Obviously, Eleanor is up to no good, and I'm still thinking that Jack was a red herring this entire time here. So
sure.
And I think that's okay. That he may just been placed there to throw people off.
Okay.
So I don't necessarily have to expect something great from every character.
Okay.
But I don't think they're doing a bad job of it or anything like that. And I think with this episode, you're kind of starting to see everything get tied together, and you can kind of see where it can where it's going to land next week and with the final episode.
Yeah, but there's only one episode left, right? Now, if they make it that Jack Duquesne is just a red herring and he's out of the show and that's it, and maybe you see something in the post credits, okay, good. Like, I kind of almost feel like it's going to have like 5 different post credit scenes, and that they might interact with the Kingpin in the end of this next episode, and then that's kind of it. Like maybe there's resolution with Yelena, but then I'm assuming there's going to be like a post credit scene with Jack. There's going to be a post credit scene with Eleanor, and she's going to like put on a mask. And then maybe there'll be some kind of post-credit scene with Echo or something like that. I just feel like it's like setting up future things.
Yeah, but every show has been about setting up future things so far. And
True.
So I don't know what the resolution of this show ultimately is. I mean, right. I think we've kind of heard rumors that this would kind of be like the swan song for Jeremy Renner. But everything seems to be tying back to Kingpin. Now, I think it's a pretty crazy stretch to think that the Kingpin's going to get like him as an adversary is going to be resolved here in one episode of time. That's not realistic. So I don't know who's going to lose or who's going to get like beaten or defeated in the next episode, and it may just ultimately end with the protagonist coming kind of an understanding that they've all been played by a single person, a central person, which is Kingpin.
Okay. Well,
because what we're saying here is, Clint has clearly meddled within Kingpin's crime empire in the past year. where they're implying that he's responsible for the death of Echo's father. And how does Yelena tie in then? Well, Yelena got hired. Well, what I'm confused about this, I'm very confused about Yelena actually, and I keep reading that the writers for Black Widow and the writers for the show were completely in the dark about each other's storylines. So from the Black Widow movie, it makes it seem like
the
Countess is the one that is hiring Yelena to go after Clint.
Yes.
But in this, they're making it seem like it's Eleanor hiring Yelena to take out Clint in the guise of protecting her or preventing her daughter from getting involved and finding it more out. So those two kind of things are kind of at odds to me. So I'm not sure how, but Yelena seems to have been digging into who hired her, and I feel like she's been wrong somehow. I'm not exactly sure. I mean, maybe ultimately it really is that she's been led to believe that Clint's a lot worse of a person than he actually is. And, and you know, he's certainly done some bad things, but on the same hand, so is she. So it's like, you know, the pot calling the kettle black.
Yeah, exactly. Right. I feel like what we might end up seeing is something along the lines of the Cabal, which, like in the comics, the Cabal was like the inverse of the Illuminati, where like the Illuminati is like, you know, I mean, you know this, I'm just saying this to our viewers, but like Doctor Strange, Namor, you know, fucking voice man, what the Black Bolt, right? Professor X, right? So that's the Illuminati, and then they had like the evil version, right? They had like the female Loki and Doctor Doom, and I could have sworn Madame Mask was on that too. And it's like, if they're trying to use that Cabal or like kind of set that up, maybe the Countess is like an intermediary for them, and so she's the one that hired Yelena, but she was doing that on behalf of Eleanor. Right, Madame Mask.
Oh, we're saying that Eleanor contacted the Countess to hire Yelena. Okay, yeah, okay, that makes sense. But I wonder if those timelines work out.
They probably don't, and it's so weird because like I didn't even understand the timelines in the MCU. They're saying that the blip happened in 2018, right? Because that's what in the first scene. And I know that you jump 5 years ahead in Endgame, so that would make it like 2023, right? Currently,
yeah. I feel like a little bit of time has passed by now, so it could be 2023, maybe 2024.
Oh yeah, you're right. That's right, because the blip has been a while ago too. So like, or the return from the blip. Yeah. So like, yeah, it could be like 2024 or 2025.
Then again, it's Christmas time, so maybe it probably is more 2023. Going into 2024, so
okay, you know, but yeah, I see it, like the point you're saying with like the Black Widow writers and the Hawkeye writers not necessarily knowing what's going on, and so they just did the best they could. I do kind of have this idea that maybe there is like the Cabal or something like that, and I feel like the Countessa might be an intermediary, and this is all kind of going towards a Dark Avengers thing. I think they are ultimately building the Dark Avengers. But you asked a question before of like, well, what's the main resolution? How does this all come into, how does it end, right? And I think that in this episode they were setting up that Kazi had betrayed Echo's dad, right?
Yeah. So yes, I took it as Kingpin wanted to get rid of Echo's dad, and Kazi was kind of like the messenger there, and that's why he wasn't there. But it doesn't make sense that why that happened, and then why Echo would be taking over that crew in the play and her dad's place, and if that was the case. So
yeah. And even with that, you could kind of go two different ways, because you could go like Clint absolutely killed her dad, and that's what happened, or you could do like maybe they hired Duquesne and he wore the Ronin costume and they tried to run it off like it was Ronin. Who knows, right? but it's like, yeah, you bring up a good question. Like, why did they want to have him killed in the first place?
That's
Maybe
actually a really good idea. I wonder because it does seem like there was a scene in this episode after when Clint shows up in the Ronin costume and fights Maya, and he takes off his mask and he says, "I want to show you my face," and like we're the same. He says we're the same, both weapons. Sort of, I guess. But it does feel weird that like he's basically saying he's not apologizing for killing her dad. So
no.
I'm assuming that maybe you're onto something here where he actually didn't do it.
See, because like, what if this, right? Like, what if the reason why Kingpin wanted the dad killed, was because the dad was like an informant to the good guys, maybe even to Clint/Ronin. And so they hired Duquesne to come in as Ronin, and he takes out all those guys, right? Like, you know what I'm saying? It's like they think that that's Clint, but it's Duquesne, and he's the one that murders the dad.
Yeah, and also he was Duquesne was very interested in that sword. I mean, granted he's a sword collector, but maybe there's more to it with that sword specifically that he wanted it so badly.
Yeah, that dude collects swords the way you collect Transformers, man.
Oh shit, we're in trouble.
Good thing he's a billionaire, you know, or however rich he is, right? So yeah, I mean, obviously we're gonna find out everything that happens by the next episode. I do think there's gonna be like a shit ton of like epilogue type stuff, or this person's going to do this and this person's going to do this. To me, it would make sense if, like, because I'm just trying to think who's fighting who at the end. Obviously, there has to be an action sequence, right? So if it's not just a red herring for the swordsman, and it is what we're theorizing right now, he comes in, he's fighting with a sword. You got Echo, who I'm assuming is going to be on the side of Clint and Kate. And then I guess Yelena is there. And maybe I guess they're just fighting tracksuit guys. Oh, and Kazi too, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah, I think it'll just be like a big shootout / sword fight.
So basically, the resolution is going to be that the tracksuits kind of get taken down in a sense, and that's really. And then we get a scene of Kingpin. Maybe Swordsman gets taken down, and then I have a hard time believing that we'll see Eleanor get arrested or something will happen to her, because I really like your idea of her being this and the MCU's Madam Mask, even though that's not who it is in the comics. But I really like that idea. I'm holding out for that. So yeah. And I think it would be a waste to have her behind bars this soon.
Okay, so let's do this. You ready? Let's do a series of bets. Okay, I'm gonna write down my side. Hopefully you can remember your side, or you can write it down too. But let's write down things we think we're gonna see in that last episode. Okay.
Okay, wait. Are we writing it down right now?
You don't have to like literally write it down. Just remember the points that you make. Okay.
Okay.
So just to get the ball rolling, I'll throw one. But absolutely, Eleanor putting on a mask, or she opens up a case and there's a mask.
Yeah.
Okay. Eleanor mask. That's mine. Do you have one too?
Well, you got the best one now.
I'm sorry. I'm such a dick.
I'm assuming that we're gonna see Echo take the Ronin costume.
Okay. That's cool. All right, I'm writing it down for you. That's Brian. Echo take the Ronin costume. Okay. I'm gonna say that you get a post-credit scene with no, fuck the swordsman thing. I'm gonna say that you have like Kazi fighting against Echo, right? Because there's gonna be like a showdown between them.
Yep.
Right. I think that you're also gonna have oh shit, I had a good one too.
Here's the question here. Do you think Vincent D'Onofrio will actually be in the next episode?
Yes, but
it's gonna be in the actual episode and not in a post-credit scene. I feel like if it's gonna be anything, it's gonna be a post-credit scene.
Okay. Can I write that down as one of yours? Post-credit Kingpin?
Yeah.
Okay. Post-credit Kingpin. All right. And then let's see. Maybe I was gonna say like maybe Yelena breaks Swordsman out of jail or something like that. I don't know. Because I feel like he could potentially be a Dark Avenger.
Maybe.
Yeah.
No, because if anything, I feel like we're going to see Clint, Maya, Kate, and Yelena all fighting on the same side. That's what I think we're going to be seeing here. So that doesn't jive with that idea.
Okay.
Jive? What the hell? Where am I from?
It doesn't jive, homie. But what do you call it? I was gonna say it's cheating to be like Clint goes home for Christmas, right? Like everyone knows it's gonna happen, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
You know what? Cheating. I mean, I'm real. I really want to know what ultimately happens with Clint here, because like we said, supposedly this is it for him. He's not going to be in anything anymore. So I mean, does he just go home for Christmas and that's it? He just lives on his farm and that we don't see him ever again?
I don't know. Well, that brings up a question. Do you want to take credit and have on your list that his wife is Mockingbird?
Oh yeah, that's got to be on my list.
That's on your list. Okay. So
yeah, because we have to find out exactly what the watch means. We have to. Yeah. They can't say, "Oh, it's a watch and it ties somebody." That's not enough. You can't throw that out there without defining it better.
Okay. So what I think is happening here is that you're getting you're getting two threads with all the post-credit kind of stuff, right? You're having this like Kang kind of big picture stuff, which you're just seeing with like Loki, and I don't really think we've seen in the other shows. And I'm not sure where Scarlet Witch fits in with this, but I know that with this show and with Falcon and Winter Soldier, it's like stuff with the Countess, right? I feel like you have like a Dark Avengers thing going on with the Countess, and you might see the Countess in that scene where Eleanor has a mask. So I'm going to put that in for mine too.
Okay. Okay. I have to make some kind of prediction with Kate, because I feel like at the very least she knows her mom is up to bad stuff. So she's not going to stick around in New York, I don't think. Now, I'm not sure if she's going to go back with Clint and like train with him for a while or something, maybe, or maybe she goes and hangs out with Black Widow, with Yelena, and like learns some stuff from her or something. Okay. The one thing I feel like we do know is that the next time we're going to see Haley Steinfeld is Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Oh, she's in that?
I believe she is, yes.
Doesn't Ant-Man take place in California?
San Francisco. So that kind of makes me feel like it's more Hawkeye.
Yeah.
I'm more going with Clint.
Oh, okay. But you're saying this is the last Jeremy Renner, though, right?
I think so. Well, I mean, maybe he'll just appear as like cameos or something, but like he's not gonna be in any like crazy missions or anything like that anymore.
Maybe we should get Jeremy Renner to do a cameo, like that service where you pay people. They could be like, "This show is great. Listen to Brian and Pete and their Bitcoin."
What you got to do is you have to ask some questions and then film us asking them. So it's like we're in it.
Right. But the problem with that is that it says like cameo on the video. I could probably blur it out or something.
The bottom of it, or we can crop it a little bit.
That's true. Yeah. All right. So make sure you say good points, Pete. Okay. So. All right, so I'm going to go through our list, and you can add things if you want, but you got way more than me. I got the Countess is going to be in a scene with Eleanor put on a mask. I got Kazi fighting against Maya. And then you have Echo takes the Ronin costume, post-credit Kingpin. You got Clint, Maya, Kate, and Yelena together fighting. And you got the Mockingbird one, too.
And I'm gonna throw out that Kate is gonna go back with Clint for Christmas and is gonna train with Clint.
Okay. Kate training.
She has nowhere else to go right now.
Okay, so then you know what? I'm gonna steal
down. Her mom's a criminal. She needs to escape.
I'm going to steal your thing then, man, and I'm going to say that she's going to go with Yelena, and they're going to go to California.
Okay.
All right. Kate, go to California. Okay.
So, yeah. I mean, Kate has that whole West Coast, thing. So, I mean.
Right. Exactly.
Shit, man.
So I have 1, 2, 3, 4 things, and you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's pretty good list right there.
I'm good with that.
Yeah. So, after we watch the episode next week, we can see who got the most right.
All right.
Cool, man. All right. So unless you got any more to say about Hawkeye, I think we can bring it to a close.
Yeah, I think I'm good.
Okay. And then Brian and I are also going to see Spider-Man. And so we are going to make sure that we get some time this weekend to meet up and have a live discussion of Spider-Man No Way Home. So that'll most likely be, I think, probably Saturday, maybe Sunday, right?
Yeah, I'm seeing it Saturday morning now, so.
That's awesome, man. I can't wait to talk about it with you. All right, well, this was fun, man, and I guess we will see you guys after we see Mephisto in Spider-Man. See y'all.